Hey, it's Mr. Schaefer back at it again, the one and only Bob. It's getting interesting, my friends. It's definitely getting interesting. Let's set our mental bookmark here. Let's scroll back. First thing I see is Team Elephant, and I remember what happened. I hope you do too. That was Kudzu, right? The little baby juvenile gorilla that was trapped in the moat, right? The moat is that water that kind of surrounds the domain. And Team Elephant, which is that last chapter we read, they all pull. They were trying to get him out, trying to get the little kudzu out, and it's a girl. I keep wanting to call kudzu a boy, but kudzu's a girl. And they can't get her. They can't get her. But Ruby has an idea to make the trunks connect and get kudzu out of the water, and it works. So it's pretty amazing that Ruby could step up and actually, even though she's the littlest one and the baby, she was able to help organize everybody and save Kudzu, which is amazing. Speaking of that, we did meet, Ruby is back again, and it's, she was yelling at Bob to come help get Kudzu out. The rest of the time, the first part of this chapter was all about, our first section of this was about Bob still walking around the devastation, right? He's trying to figure out where's everybody at. He's trying to find George and Julia and Ivan and Ruby. First person he comes to, though, is Kimu, right? The wolf who was kind of giving him a hard time last time, but this time Kimu was not in good shape, right? He was staring. He couldn't find another one of his wolf friends. Remember, we didn't know who that was, Suzu. So if you remember who Suzu is, please tell me. But he was looking, he wasn't trying to fight Bob or nothing. He was just looking worried and scared. So Gorilla World was all messed up. Again, the walls were gone. Everything was turned down. And that's when the last thing we read was when Kudzu got ripped out of the water and saved. Okay. And then Ruby says, I'm going with Bob now. So I'm going with Bob. She says no to Akello and says, I'm going with Bob. Maybe I can help him. Right? Because they're trying to find Ruby, or trying to find Ivan. I want to know where he's at, right? So he's heading over to Gorilla World. And the picture you see there, Gorilla World, you can already tell the big old stick, a big old tree filling right on top of the sign. So, all right, let's see what happens. All right, what's out there? A handful of humans, firefighters and police mostly, have begun to roam around the grounds, checking out the damage. We pass a park employee with a weapon slung over his shoulder and a net in one hand. A weapon and a net. Trank gun, he tells a passing police officer. We don't know what's out there. She nods. How fast do they work? On something like a big cat? He shakes his head. Not fast enough. I look over at Ruby. Stay close, kid. As we near the gorilla villa, what's left of it anyways, a screech hits my ears that makes the wailing police sirens sound like mewling kittens. Bro, so they're walking around with a tranquilizer gun, right? These two guys are, because like we said before, these animals are everywhere, right? They're going around everywhere. It's Kenyani. She's frantically knuckle running back and forth near the collapsed gorilla villa. Chunks of cement, shredded wooden beams, and bent metal lie everywhere. A cluster of gorilla females and juveniles huddle not too far from some of the rescue workers. There's Mama! Kudzu cries, dashing toward a gorilla named Jody. I'm so horrified by the destruction that I've almost forgotten my muddy little charge. I really shouldn't be trusted as a ape sitter. So basically, remember, he was in charge of Kudzu. He said he was going to take him back to his family. He said he shouldn't be trusted as an ape sitter. Kudzu darts over to her mother's waiting embrace. Jody nuzzles her and strokes her and says soothing, motherly gorilla things. Thank you, Jody mouths to me. Don't thank me, I say, looking over Ruby. Thank this little gal. She figured out how to save Kudzu. Thank you, Ruby, isn't it? Ivan's friend? Ruby gives a shy nod. We all helped. I provided moral support, I add. I flew, Mama, says Kudzu. Of course you did, dear, says Jody. Kenyani's fresh wails focus my mind. I gotta go, I say. Ruby, you should stay here. I'm going for a no-nonsense voice. The one Julia uses on me when she calls me Robert. Let me see what's what. I'll be right back. No way, Uncle Bob, Ruby replies, just as firmly. I give up, but I'm afraid of what she might see, of what we both might see. Any sign of Ivan? I ask Jody. She shakes her head, a grim looking clouding in her eyes. With Ruby by my side, we approach the pile of wreckage that used to be the Gorilla Villa. At the same moment, Ruby and I gasp. There's Ivan's hand, barely peeking through the rubble. Not moving. I know that hand like the back of my own paw. No! Ruby screams. Uncle Ivan! I check the crowd. No sign of Julia or George. Nothing. No Maya either, or other keepers I recognize. Just a few employees, several rescue workers, and 2 or 3 dazed-looking visitors. Is he alive? A firefighter asks. And whatever it's called isn't moving, says another. Weaving my way through the tangled up legs, I climb up the rubble pile, sniff a bit, and bark my loudest. Yes, he's alive. Get your rears in gear. Bark. Just like those overachieving rescue dogs in the Man's Best Friend show. I listened for a sound from Ivan. A grunt. A cry for help. Nothing. Still, he smells alive. At least I think he does. And that's not good enough for me. Guys, Ivan's stuck in a giant pile. He thinks he might be gone. Bob's trying to get him out of there. Let's see. I don't know. Xena. Another dog races over. A tough-looking German shepherd wearing an impressive glow-in-the-dark vest and some booty things to protect her feet from the rubble. But I hold my ground. This is my friend we're talking about. I lick Ivan's hand. His finger twitch. Well, that's all it takes to get us both barking like maniacs. More people gather. I see Maya next to Ruby, which makes me feel better. Name's Xena, says the shepherd. Bob. I nudge Ivan's finger with my nose. Nothing. And this is Ivan, my best bud. Sorry to hear it, she replies, and I don't like the sound in her voice. With great care, and far too slowly for my taste, rescue workers begin removing chunks of wreckage and tossing them aside. Xena and me, we mostly stay out of the way, but every so often I lick Ivan's hand, just so I know we've got him covered. I glance over at Maya and Ruby. Maya is wiping tears from her eyes while she strokes Ruby's ears. Ruby's giving Maya a comforting trunk hug. Good old Ruby. Wise beyond her years, that gal. I check the crowd again. Still no sign of Julia or George. And that's when a sickening thought hits me, like a bite to the belly. What if Ivan isn't the only one under that rubble? Guys, this is crazy. I don't know what's going to happen here. We got to keep going. But I love this. Bob said he was like one of those rescue dogs on those shows, right? He's trying to, they're basically sniffing. That dog's a sniffing dog, right? Coming to sniff around and find people or animals that are buried under the rubble. Dragon. More police cars and ambulances arrive at the park. A handful of keepers stream in too, looking frantic and confused. The weirdest thing of all, wandering through all this destruction and are random park residents. Animals, birds, reptiles. Residents who most definitely do not belong in Gorilla World. A police officer is chasing an armadillo. A great blue heron watches the mayhem from her position atop a giraffe statue. A wallaby pokes his nose out of a bush, his saucer eyes catching the fire engine lights. Nets! Someone yells. We need more nets! An older gentleman holding a blue umbrella lets out a blood-curdling scream. Dragon! He cries. I swear to you, I just saw a baby dragon! Sir, says a keeper named Malik, no worries. That's actually a Gila monster. His name is Gilligan. A paramedic raises his hand. They have like venom, don't they? They say a healthy adult won't die from it, Malik shrugs. Although, you'll be in some serious pain. Wonderful, the paramedic mutters. I glance over my shoulder to see Sarah running toward Maya. I can't hear her words, but I can definitely see the worry in her eyes. Zena's ears tip forward. They're getting the cutters in the jaws of life. Jaws? I repeat. I don't like the sound of that. Spread's metal. They're probably getting close. Come on. We need to get out of the way. I ain't going anywhere. I hear you, she says, and I can tell from the weary sound of her voice that she's had this conversation before. But the best thing for Ivan right now is to let the humans do their thing. And think about it. Figure she's right. If I give his fingers one last lick, they don't move. Nothing. Nada. We pick our way to the bottom of the debris pile. Hang in there, Ivan, I call. We love you, buddy. I know it's crazy, but I listen anyways, hoping for a sign, any sign, that he's still with us. Guys, this is crazy. It's making me sad and making me scared and making me worried. We can't lose Ivan. Hugging. I run to Kenyani. Don't worry, I tell her. He's going to make it. I can tell she doesn't believe me. From there, I head over to Maya and Sarah and Ruby. Maya has a radio handset in one of her hands, and for some reason, a young squirmy meerkat in the other. Sarah kneels down and hugs me tighter than any sweater she's ever knit. Pop, she cries. What's happened to your nose? And look at your paw. Some dogs don't like to be hugged that way. I'm one of them. But Sarah needs it. I can tell somehow. So I let her. It isn't so bad, really. Loose. A new police officer joins us. Officer Williams. She nods at Maya. You're with the park, right? Yes, I'm Maya. This, Officer Williams pauses. We need to get this under control ASAP. Winds are going to pick up. We haven't hit the eye. Storm surge could be an issue. This one's moving slow. We've got a skeleton staff here, says Maya, as the meerkat attempts to eat her earring. Early reports say maybe a third of the habitats are damaged or destroyed. She shakes her head. We've got some injuries, some possible fatalities, too. You know what fatalities means? Death. Human? Don't think so. Anything loose that could be, a problem? Maya presses her lips together. Yep. Such as? Couple Florida panthers, gray wolves, a python maybe, possibly an alligator or two. American alligators, not Chinese. I don't care if they're from Canada. If they eat people, we're in trouble. They don't, typically. Typically, Officer Williams repeats. Well, that's reassuring. Sarah loosens her grip on me ever so tightly. Maya? She asks, voice trembling. Have you heard anything on the radio from George and Julia? I keep calling, but the cell towers are down. Nothing yet, Maya says, but I'm sure they're fine. Nearest shelter over at Lincoln Elementary, says Officer Williams. You should check there. Sarah frowns. They're probably right here, right before the tornado hit. We're searching the park, ma'am, says the officer. We'll find them if they're here. Everybody clear out! A firefighter with a megaphone yells from a spot near Ivan. Could be danger of more collapse. We're working on this last metal beam. I look to see if Ivan's fingers are moving. Nothing. Hold on, Ivan! I yell. Nothing. Sometimes nothing is the worst sound in the world. Ruby lets out a little elephant cry. And then I realize maybe that's the worst sound in the world. Guys, I'm freaking out right now. How could you say sometimes the worst sound in the world is nothing? But hearing that elephant cry is probably another terrible. I can't imagine hearing Ruby cry like that. CPR. The wind dies down to a whisper, as if the world is holding its breath along with the rest of us. Do you have any vets standing by? Officer Williams asked Officer Williams as two more ambulances screeched to a halt nearby. Yes, Maya nods. Not sure when they'll get here, though. Officer Williams has waves down an ambulance crew member. You ever give CPR to a gorilla? Primate's a primate, I guess, he says, but he doesn't look too sure. What's going on? Remember CPR is where you, like, breathe people back to life? Remember primates are gorillas, so they're talking about CPR for Ivan? I don't know. We're waiting on equipment, but we're stretched pretty thin. Lots of structural damage on the north side of town, says Officer Williams. They're going to get a chain on that last beam. Try pulling it free with one of the cars. Somebody under there? Gorilla, we think. Not sure what else. Or who else. I look at all the cement. All the wood and metal. Nobody could survive that. Not even a silverback gorilla with the strength of 8 men. And yet, Ivan's fingers moved. And then they didn't. Several minutes pass. The rain slows a bit, along with the wind. The crowd watches as 3 firefighters attach a long chain to the metal beam next to Ivan. Then hook it to a tow bar on the rear of the police car. Back up, folks, calls the megaphone guy. Farther! The chain clanks, the car growls, the wheels squeal. Grinding, groaning. Progress. Just a bit. The big chunk of metal has definitely moved a whisker or two. More grinding. Wheels dig holes in the ground. Mud flies like thick brown rain. A lurch, a snap. Clanks and rumbles as the big beam jerks free. The rescue workers move in, digging with their bare hands. Cement and dust and metal and bits and pieces of gorilla world are everywhere. But where's Ivan? No. No movement. Nothing. But after a few more minutes, one thing is clear. A gorilla-shaped mound has appeared, covered by dust and dirt and debris and splattered with rain. It just lies there. I've lost a lot in my life. My whole family. Stella. But Ivan? No, it can't happen. Not Ivan. Guys, I can't. Should we keep reading or not? Miracle. The mound sits up. Gorilla ghost. Ivan emerges from a cloud of dust like a jumbo-sized ghost. He blinks several times, coughs, shakes, stretches a little. He's holding a banana, which he proceeds to eat. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, cheers. Bros, look, there he is. I cannot believe it. Like, I really can't believe it. I was about to lose my mind. Thank God he's alive. I would have lost it if we would have lost Ivan right now. We're stopping there. I can't read anymore. I can't. Okay, so we know Ruby's alive. We know Ivan's alive. We know Sarah is alive. We have not seen George and Julia, though, yet. All the cell towers are down, so we don't know where they're at. We haven't heard from them. God, that was scary. I don't like that. I thought Ivan was a goner. Thank the Lord. All right. I hope you enjoyed that today. We'll get back into it next time.